It's your boy. So, this episode took me a long time to make because I went back and forth and trying to figure out what I was gonna do. So here it is. In this episode, we're gonna build not just one, but we're gonna build two computers, and we're gonna do some other shenanigans because I was planning to like use some other parts in some other builds, and it didn't happen. I was like, anyway, whatever. I need to get a video out. So, two computers this episode. Let's fucking go. So, I have a full PC build in mind. It's gonna be sick, and it's gonna look great. We're gonna build in a white PC case this time, and I have something interesting. A while back, I bought this. This is a GTX 1080 Ti. It's probably a model you haven't seen before. Honestly, when I first was going to buy this, I thought it was a fake graphics card. Or like some Teemu version or something. But turns out it's from a pre-built, it's from an HP Omen. And I got it for super cheap. And it works totally fine. It's a great GPU, the legendary 1080 Ti. All it needs is a repaste. And then I thought to myself, you know what? This shroud won't really fit in with the build that we're gonna make. So I'm gonna try something I haven't done. I'm gonna try to spray paint the shroud and see if it will fit with the build a bit better. So that's what I did. I went to the store, I got some spray paint, and then I grabbed some sandpaper, some tape. Oh yeah, here's my cat in the box because, you know, it ain't a video without my cat, and it's in the box. That's funny, haha. Cute, kawaii, whatever. And then I started, I took the GPU apart and I started masking it up and trying to cut the logo because obviously I wanted the logo. And then went outside, got some cardboard. I should have gotten way more cardboard. Always remember safety first. Oh. And then I started painting. First coat, not too bad. And then you can see me here peeling the tape off super slowly with all the confidence in the world. You want to do this when it's not completely dry, but not while it's wet either. And this is the other logo. I look so confident doing it, but wait, there's more. I call this the nail of confidence. I'm scraping off some leftover paint. Check this out. Look at how I'm shaking. It's actually insane. Doing some touch-ups. But in the end, it turned out okay. It turned out pretty okay. You know, it's fine enough. So now for the parts we're gonna use in the build, we're gonna grab the case, the Ditso C321 mesh. We're gonna grab a brand new NVMe SSD, the Kingston NV3, and the part I waited the longest for, the motherboard, the Asus Prime H510. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later. So here are the new parts that we're going to use. You can see we got an ID cooling water cooler, and we got some ID cooling fans, the SSD, and the motherboard. Man, I love ID cooling so much. Oh yeah, and by the way, here's the GPU in all its glory. This is just in another rig for testing. It looks pretty sick if you ask me. Perfect for a white build. However, but I'm not gonna end up using this GPU for this build anyway. Inbound random tech tip. Do you need a GPU sag bracket? Here's a pro tech tip for you. So, if you have a graphics card in your computer, which I assume you do, you probably have some extra PCIe covers. What you can do with those that you don't use is that you can use them as a GPU bracket. This one's a little bit crooked, but as you can see, all I did was bend the end a little bit with a couple pliers, and boom, fits perfectly. Or if it's a little bit too tall, what you can do is cut them in like half and bend the bottom, and boom, it sits perfectly like that. And it doesn't look half bad either. Sorry about that, but I want to tell you about my Instagram that I made. So I made an Instagram at Stockholm Builds where I post a little bit closer on like stuff that I build, shenanigans I build, so I thought it was a good time to plug that. Links down below, check it out if you want to. I post some tech tips there, I post, you know, me doing a bunch of shenanigans and all that, and it's super cool, and I would truly appreciate it if you would give it a follow. Thank you. Let's talk a bit closer about the PC, shall we? So this is one of the brand new parts that's going in the build. It's an H510M AR2. A pretty basic motherboard, but it was on a sale and I got it dirt cheap, and it's somewhat better than original H510s and H410s as it do have a heatsink, and I mucho appreciate a little heatsink. Now, the CPU we are pairing this with, I would normally pair with the B series motherboard, but they're super expensive and they're almost, you can't almost get them anymore. But this one suddenly one day got super cheap on sale. I was originally planning to use a H410 that was even more basic and didn't have a heatsink on the VRMs. Luckily this one does, so it's more of it's a higher end base board, if that makes sense. And I figured it's good enough. It's not ideal, but it's good enough. Because the CPU we're pairing this with is an i7-10700F. Bam! Oh, it's gonna be sick. So the i7-10700F is a CPU I've had in storage for a long time. And the reason that heatsink on the motherboard is important is so that the CPU can boost clock all the way to the top, which on like super low end motherboards, which I was originally planning to go with because of pricing, it simply won't boost that high. So actually one of those rare times, like people don't talk about it, but actually sometimes your motherboard can bottleneck you a little bit because your CPU won't reach those high boost clocks, but luckily because of that heatsink it does on this board. So I get that installed. I also install a kit of RAM here, which I'm gonna end up using in the second PC you'll see in this video. But we are going for the same kind of RAM, so we're going to install some 16 gigs of T-Force RAM. Now check out this beauty, RAM and CPU installed. Just pretend it's silver and from T-Force instead. Now it's time to mount our SSD. This board actually even comes with an SSD heatsink, which is pretty nice. Because the SSD we are using, that one in particular isn't known to get super hot, but the previous one, the Kingston NV2, is known to be to get pretty hot. So we're gonna uninstall that heatsink. We're gonna get our Kingston NV3 and get our heatsink back on once we peel the tape. Then unpack our case and get all the rest of the parts. The Dutsu C321 TG ARGB, I think it's called. And now let's show the meat of this build, the graphics card. This is my wife's old graphics card because I recently upgraded it and she got my old graphics card. I don't really show it off. I forget to show it off in the video. But the GPU is the Zotac Mini, I think, RTX 3060 Ti, twin blade or twin edge or something like that. But it's a pretty decent card. I mean, it's only got 8 gigs of VRAM, which do kind of suck. Here I am trying to test fit it in. But it's a solid card still for both 1080p and some 1440p titles. Its biggest drawback is only the 8 gigs of VRAM, but it's still fine. And I mean, considering the 5060 come out with 8 gigabytes, it's really not that bad, is it? Since our motherboard is ready, we get the IO shield installed, and then we screw in the extra standoffs, and then we screw in our motherboard, and move on to the RAM that we're actually using. So this is some T-Force RAM. It's 16 gigs. It's originally clocked at 3200 megahertz, but this CPU only supports up to 2933 megahertz, but it's good enough. Now for the power supply, which I also don't show off, but it's another tried and true unit. It's a Corsair TX 550M that I got used. It's 80 plus gold rated and will do perfectly fine. It's actually from the last episode's PC, if you've seen that. I'm contemplating a little bit if I should use cable extensions or not. I end up doing it, but just to try it out, I decide not to. So I cable manage for a little bit, and then we take the front panel off and we install the fans. This case originally comes with fans, but they were really noisy, so I switched them out from some ID cooling fans, which was on a sale and super cheap. ARGB, and we're gonna hook it all up to a controller eventually. And then it's time for our cooler, also from ID Cooling. God, I love ID Cooling. The FX240 AIO, it will look perfect in this case. As you can see, we've already cable managed the USB cables and whatnot. We unpacked this and we tried to get this installed. There's a lot of cables and whatnot and fans, but once I get it in there, it's gonna look great. Clean off the cooler, and then we install that after installing some thermal paste, and it's starting to look like a computer. It's almost done. So we do some light cable managing. We're gonna do some more cable managing once we've installed the graphics card, which sometimes in this cheap cases, the screw holes simply don't want to fit, so you kind of have to force them through, but we eventually get it done. That's just how cheap cases is, I guess. And boom, it's done. It's pretty late when I build this, so I take a break. I just take the side panel on and call it a day. And then the PC is finally done once we get the side panel on and stuff. You can see I've changed out the cables for some cable extensions, which look great. And we get Windows 11 installed, and let's run some stress tests. But wait. Since this is an ATX case and a micro ATX board, I thought that, you know, it kind of looked a bit empty in the bottom. So I have this old GPU bracket that I've never gotten around to use, and I thought, what if I just put that on the bottom? How will that look? So I managed to install a screw in one of the motherboard standoff holes, and I turn it on and it lights up and it syncs up, and it looks a bit wonky here maybe, but trust me, it really added the final flair that we needed once I straightened it out and like got the cable behind and stuff. But it totally worked out. Now for the benchmark, here we are. I mean, look at this beauty. It looks great, doesn't it? Here we are in running the Borderlands 3 in-game benchmark, and it's running great. A little bit closer here. We're running about 100 FPS. This is 1080p Ultra, like 1080p maxed out, everything set to ultra high. Also hop in game for a little bit, and it's running really great. We're averaging slightly over 100 FPS, and it's running pretty great. This is in one of the hardest areas to run as well. It's doing perfectly. Now check out this Time Spy benchmark score, huh? This is out of the box. Excellent score, way above average on an H510M motherboard. It clocks totally fine. It goes all the way up to 4.6 gigahertz, and it's excellent, really. The temps are also pretty great, despite the GPU model. I got some fresh thermal paste on it, and it's excellent. I promised you 2 computers, didn't I? By the way, there's my cat. In the buffer. Oh, you put a blanket in like the thing. Oh man, he's so cute. And to start us off, I got another package that I ordered off the used marketplace market here to start us off this new build. And look at how this was packaged, my god. But hey, I'm not mad about great packaging. So we finally start to get this out after layers and layers of packaging, but hey, I am not mad about good packaging. So we finally get it out after this final layer without any anti-static packaging, which is not recommended. What do we have? Yes. Boom. The legendary i7-6700. So let's grab the parts we're gonna test it with. Here's the motherboard we're gonna use, which I got dirt cheap. So one thing is that I recently sold a computer with kind of similar specs to the one we're gonna build. But the thing about it was that I sold the computer without the graphics card, because the guy that wanted to buy it already had the GPU, so he wondered if I could knock something off if I took the GPU out, which I did. And I was like, what am I gonna do with this GPU now? But then I found this super cheap motherboard online, and I thought, yeah, I don't see any problems with this. So here it is. It's a full-size ATX motherboard. Boom! It's actually a mining specific motherboard. So therefore it's got all of these slots here, but it's got a full-size PCIe slot with like Gen 3 16 NECs. It's totally meant for a GPU. It's even got an M.2 slot. It's only got 2 RAM slots, but that's totally fine for this budget build. And this is gonna work perfectly with our i7 6700 and 16 gigs of RAM. So this motherboard is the Gigabyte GA H110 D3A, so super basic board. I/O is also super weird, but then again, it was dirt cheap, and it even came from a store that does refurbished stuff. So this even has a guarantee, which is nice. The only thing is that it's missing an I/O shield, but oh well, what can you do? It's good enough. So let's test all of these parts out, and I'll give you some test bench computer ASMR. Grab my trusted GPU, the GT730, everybody. So this motherboard was weird, and I should have seen that coming, so I had a few issues. CPU is getting warm, but I'm not getting an image though. Mouse lights up, keyboard lights up. I think it's working, it's just weird that I'm not getting any picture. Oh, there we go! We get a picture! Alright! Okay, that's good. So at least we know the CPU works and the RAM works and the motherboard works. I really hope I can get this slot to work though. So this board obviously is meant for mining and there's not a lot of support, but actually I checked the BIOS and there was an update fairly recently that strongly recommend upgrading. We're on F23 and it's already got F26B out, so we're gonna update the BIOS and hopefully that'll help. So the situation was that simple, that the motherboard and CPU and RAM was working totally fine, but I wasn't getting any output from the PCIe slot, and being that this was a mining board, the BIOS was kind of weird, but it had a recent update in 2025, so I updated the BIOS. Turned out that wasn't the solution, we'll get to it, but still, BIOS updated. But yeah, check it out. So I think I found it. It's using a little bit of Googling, I found out that this mining board simply isn't set to the right slot. So now I can set it to PCI 1 slot, which is this slot, and then save it. And now when we restart, we should be able to hook up a graphics card. So that fixed work, and now I was like, okay, I need a cheap cooler for this. So I went around in my storage, saw what I had, and I found this old Complete Tower cooler, and I thought I could add some extra flair to this. So what do? I decided to paint it. So I grabbed more paint and I painted the top white, which turned out to be pretty decent because I took one of the shitty fans from this that I wasn't gonna use and put in the black case and put it in the rear. So now I had the white fan in the rear, and now with the white top on the cooler, it kind of matched up. And this is one of the reasons why this video has taken so long, because I lost footage, or I didn't record it, I don't know. But I don't have footage of me building the actual computer. So we're gonna make do with what we have, but it's an episode nonetheless. So The case, same case as the white PC, which is right now next to me, the Dutsu C321, just in black. I then also, I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, I used the GPU that the guy that bought another computer didn't want. And that GPU is an old EVGA GTX 1070. Now, for storage, I was struggling a little bit to get the NVMe slot working, but then I thought, hey, I have that 1TB HDD from the last PC in the last video, so I decided to use that, and then I got a brand new, super cheap one. I feel like I say that a lot. 120GB SSD just for the OS, and then you have the 1TB HDD for mass storage. For the power supply, I went with this. This is not the exact same one, but I bought a couple power supplies on sale. This is a 750 watt version. We went with the 550 watt. The Enermax Max Pro 4. It's 80 plus rated. It's a pretty cheap power supply, but it's got these black sleeved cables, and it was super cheap. So in a budget build with the 1070, it's more than enough. Pretty solid. And then we got the brand new Dutsu case, which is the same case as we have the white PC that's actually right next to me, just in all black with ARGB fans. The fans were kind of shit in the original one, but fine enough for a budget build. I did, however, record some B-roll footage and me benchmarking it a little, so check it out. So here's the PC in by itself, and honestly, I think it looks excellent. You know, with the EVGA logo on the side there and the RGB fans really make it pop. In the benchmark here we are running Firestrike in 1080p and it's running it perfectly fine. Kinda on the lower side, but I think it's the Mobo and, you know, non-overclockable CPU. I then loaded up Fortnite, and Fortnite has gotten really hard to run. It really does not like 4 cores any longer. Here I am though, this is my wife filming me testing Apex Legends, which is honestly, it's hard to believe, but it's honestly gotten easier to run. It's way easier to run than Fortnite, seeing as it's gotten so processor heavy. But yeah, it's Apex Legends doing pretty good. Man, I used to play Apex Legends so much back in the day, and now I haven't touched it in probably years. But it's still a super popular title, and it ran excellent on this. I think this is 1080p high, running at about 60 FPS, I believe, and if you turn it down to medium, you're at like 100. I could be getting those numbers wrong. But it was running pretty good. Fortnite, not so much. And with that, let's conclude. So in this episode, we built a budget computer and a high-end computer, or a higher-end computer. The first one here, excellent 1080p and 1440p machine, 3060 Ti, i7 10700F, just awesome, looks great, water cooled. You can play literally whatever you want to do. Put that up for sale. Man, I think it looked and turned out really good. Now, secondly, we make a budget computer, and here it is in all its glory. Sadly, I don't really have any building footage of it, but oh well, this video is long enough as it is. I think it also looked really good with the fan in the rear and the white cooler, the Max Pro PSU and the GPU. Here you can like check out these sleeved cables already. It looks really nice. And yeah, pretty solid 1080p budget gaming, perfect for Apex Legends, stuff like that. Pretty nice, DDR4. And here I'm gonna end the video. If you somehow made it through all the video, or you're even checking it out, and if you somehow found this content entertaining with my editing in Movie Maker, also it's been a long fucking time coming. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that these videos are bad. So if you found it enjoying, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna plug my Instagram again here once again. Check out Stock on Builds. I post a lot more there, and I post it more often. I post fun shenanigans if I make stuff, build stuff, fun memories. Also, you can see the pieces as they go up for sale. If you live in Norway and want to buy any of them, make me an offer. Check me out on Twitch. I try to stream. I haven't streamed in a long time. Link is also down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm almost crying. It really means that much to me. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time, next Sunday. Peace out.